It's live stream now. My mouse. It's playing. I know. Rats in the house. It's delayed. I'm delayed, but not that much. Okay, we're live whenever you're ready to start. We are live. We're live whenever you're ready to start. Okay.
Just hit the big button.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Appreciate everyone's patience as we work out the finite details of headphones and microphones. Connie, could we have the call to, or the roll call?
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Gust?
Here.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Winkler?
Here.
Thank you. All right, let's stand for the invocation and the roll call, please. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for the opportunity to come again before the district and determine the course of the district and the business at hand. God, just watch over us and help us to be respectful and thoughtful and make the best decisions together for the benefit of the students and the staff. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that brings us to approval of the agenda. Is there any questions or issues with the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
Okay, voting is open. Did your box pop up? How you want to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries. It brings us to superintendent's report.
Thank you. Took me a while to unmute. Before I go around to our cabinet, I'd like to start off with, I'd like to form a superintendent's committee for our restart plan. I'd like to have, maybe ask the board president if we could have 2 volunteers from the board that would be willing to be on that committee. We would like to meet next week one day. I know along with the 2 board members who would be on the committee, along with the admin team, our committee leads that is dealing with the health and wellness, the transportation, the cafeteria, curricular committees, and also our local health department representatives. So if we could, if you want to entertain 2 board members that would be willing to sit in on that.
Do you want me to establish that now?
Yes, if you want, that'd be fine.
When you don't look, does that mean you're not interested? I'm looking at all 3 of you.
And not to interrupt, but the reason I was wanting to do it as a committee, that way if we have to do it at last minute, that'll give us the opportunity, later in the year, if something comes up, emergency, some morning during the school day or whatever, then if we need to hurry up and convene, get together that evening, we can call that committee together and discuss whatever issues we feel we need to at that time.
Okay.
Then afterwards, if we needed to have a board meeting, we could do so.
Okay, mornings, can't do it through the day. It's hard for me to do it through the day. Anything in the evening, I'm good.
Sarah, what can we do like this? Alternate? If someone can't come?
I mentioned that to Mr. Caldwell. If you get into discussion, you alternate, you don't have to,
Okay,
somebody's always catching up.
okay.
It was just a suggestion. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not.
Well, if we could have two that would be consistent, but if something come up, they were unable to, they could have an alternate. You know. You could
So
possibly do that.
are you thinking like, if we get into the school year and the cases rise, that, we would have to make a decision on going to remote learning or making
Yeah.
any,
Making a change to our plan.
okay, because I think we'd still have to have a board
Yeah, but I mean,
meeting.
all the members that I just mentioned would be there. We would be able to brainstorm. And then while we're doing that, that's buying us time to notice a work session, a special board meeting, or whatever it may be. And then when we get together as a board, then we can,
They'll still bring the recommendation to the
Yes.
board.
correct.
Okay. Would it be an evening problem to have it
Pardon?
in later in the day or the evening?
No,
Because Greg would be able to attend if we did that.
oh yeah, I would just ask the admin team. I mean, yeah, as long as the admin team, committee leads, health department, as long as they're available in the evening. Yes. I just didn't know if health department representatives would be available or not. They'd be main ones we need
If
to
I
have.
have enough time, ahead of time to schedule, just 8, 9, 10 o'clock is terrible for me. It takes my whole day
Right,
away.
yeah.
If it's 2, 3, between 3 and 4 o'clock, that's perfect. I just start earlier, whatever.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
that'd be fine.
And then I'll be the second unless one of you guys want to. Open.
I'll do it. Somebody else wants
But Jerry,
So we got Greg,
the alternate.
Is that all right, Jerry? Me and Greg do it and you'd be the alternate?
All right, with that being done, I'll go around to some of the guests that we have here that are our committee leads and let them get some brief updates. Mrs. Brodegard, would you like to step up first on the health and wellness side?
Here, she's standing. Is it on the mic?
Well, first, I want to say, the release this morning, 23 pages, and a 2-page document on a base governance policy. I apologize if you got it late, you got it today, but I will tell you that the Health and Wellness Committee in Social Emotional Learning has met, I believe, 5 times so far. President Smith has been able to come. I was now 20 plus emails to them. So if you see any of those, ladies that be tonight, please tell them that happened tonight. Even as much as joined the IPI, Mr. Clever was able to give us and Mrs. Hill gives us more information, and we went back into even more work. So this is a very fluid document. Our recommendation, it will not be 22 pages when we finish. We wanted to give it to the very raw draft. And it is very detailed. Some of that, it'll go, we're moving from the phase 1 to the phase 2, it'll say, in addition to, so some of that will shorten. What I do want you to know is those YouTube pages that are being seen, what we have last night, when I listed for you, it's information taken from our governor's guidance, taking off some nurses, pediatrics. We have been in touch with our department because hadn't reside there. A few things before I go through the changes within those, there are those permits that we have for government decline. And thanks to Hudson and Jason been able to get some of those in place, so out those things, it's not possible. So talking about, I don't know if you guys are aware of that, talking about the scanners, the temperatures to be at each, so that that meet requirements. As long as it's in time, we have that requirement. Hand sanitation, having those throughout the buildings, decluttering those and ordering those and putting them on and get requests from some of our facilities, the extra station and those things are in place, so everyone are doing that. Our staff, we have enough staff, nurses, we have enough staff, and our nurses staff, so that they are students who are everything, as well as those coming symptoms for checked out. Another thing that we just started discussing is education, water, because everyone was hydrated, but we really water. So these are some of the needs that need to come from you. We're not that I send as the committee to Jason and say, we need to have this, we need to come to you saying that you're going to have to send this, we're going to have to send this. I know we have to look at that. Also that our provincial needs, if we can get all of these, without comments and partnership with our health department and working together. I know that Chris also, they're waiting for these documents to talk about as well. It is long, it is tedious, but please make sure you take the time. We really need to go over and that's as best as we can. I feel that process. We have to write this, but we as well. You'll know this and that document, answers questions, and nobody's going to So you may have noted it's broken down into recommendations and what's open and it's based off the five levels. I'm sorry, levels that the health department are using. Watch eyes on the board. Level 1 is yellow, and level 1 be able to have students what we're proposing, given that all of these are in phase positions to work this out. I'm not talking, I have no clue what this schedule looks like. That's my committee will decide pointers and health side to do that. Level 2, which is orange, what the biggest thing is still come into the building. Ignore phone numbers. Come into our visitor, but you have to go to the designated area. You have your and just like but level 2, there's visitors allowed and go out and less. So for level 1. Following the governor's recommendation, all staff will wear face coverings, the face covering, but it hurt very much. For level 2, we would recommend that we kindergarten, because that would become lower, maybe sitting the, this also level 2 nurses with then deliver classrooms that have students out and coming to the office. Level 3 would be read. This would, go back to the plan that we had at the end of this, essential staff in the buildings, if teachers felt the need, the building some more, their license ready, then that would be permitted. Level 4, there would be only essential staff, so they would just encourage you to go back to town, building. I know that there are a lot that I'm over. What I do want to highlight the last page of your document, some of the questions that we had for the health department would be about if we had a positive case. And then the building is go ahead and move out, so we don't have that mention that. The C is and we could have a first case of those who would have those days like that meeting. And to assess these discussions, let every contact be in contact an individual with a student or a staff member. So these are other we need to look into. The last thing on the agreement is we have it's kind of track our yellow. Don't back to yellow. So that would be good. What I need to think about is that staff after I spoke to the health department, if we were in a county that is red, which is they would not be able to work. The next problem we have is student or staff work with a lot of West Virginia. They don't have a color code system like ours. Who knows if they will match up to ours. So we need to think about if you're going to travel, as much as across the board in another state. Also, you're going to have vacation or our staff members and within a quarantine requirement or 10 day. When we talk to the health department, that's our decision. It's a board decision. They're not going to what they will do is we give them our plan and our recommendation and our relative and they like this. And then it's going to go. So what these ladies and the rest of the team have not done really well, we're trying to align what's coming down from this page, because I do feel the wording, when there are a couple more, and then I'll remember where it was written as why it was suggested versus needed, or how we're looking at that. It does align with what's going on in Columbus. It's likely that we question at the county level, even though they're not able to give us those exact directions as we go. I know when we met on Monday, there was a lot of we were talking with the health department, and he cleared up, and we guys went home as a final draft, and we found out that just wasn't going to happen. The other document I gave you, the document that we're talking about a state policy. That is one of the items that we do have to have it. You have to have it. Again, this is just a proposal. It does say about the types of things and if you had a shield, wear a shield, and the answer question if the shield wraps the face and the chin, Mr. Roman, I understand that those to all staff members. It will be up to them to wear a mask, or just this. There's some depending on how you look at it, diagnosis really wherever that is out. I don't know if you on some stages. but are there any questions, or entertained, any else with the answer?
Lydia, I got one. We're going to provide the mask for kids.
That question was brought up. If we say it is directed that the staff must wear them, we are going to have the mask for the staff. If right that you are recommended or strongly recommended for the students, I do not know if you're going to, I think that would be a decision on you all, if you're going to try to make sure they have them have masks. Some parents may send their kids in masks that they want them to wear, may not. I do think that we need to have some extra on hand, because I forgot something tonight when I came, so, I didn't make forget. That is a question, that is a question
Yeah, but I'm just saying, a lot of people might not be able to afford it. And how often you going to have one? You ain't going to have it all year, or not going to have it all year. And I feel like it's a state's responsibility, or health department or someone to provide these. That's all I got.
Another question that was brought up, I'm thinking of my notes, was about getting temperatures before they got on the bus. From what's been recommended, they would, the bus drivers would not on temperatures. However, but we'll have to take this and their guidelines for transportation and certain but what we do know is that we are activities and the schools where they so we're doing face coverings. We don't have it adopted face coverings. We wear them they're not because they wouldn't do it until they got into the bill. At that time, then if they are second, first, or kindergarten, they can continue wearing them here, which for them to wear them. The other question that was asked was, is they didn't have to wear their face coverings on. From what we gather, it's not set up that the teachers are social distance by 6 feet, and teacher or all your neighbors and others is also social distance either greater than and they're going to stay. Kind of like you guys are right now. If you are in your neighbors and your partner, then we all are masks. If I was going to currently walk around the room, then I would need to have a mask on. If we're lining up to go to the restroom, or the smaller, but we right beside each other. And if it was less, I believe that what was thrown out there as a possibility, they would have been access to that.
Lydia, you need answers from us on page 23.
Yes, so to go over the first one was regarding covering masks and shields. We want to say highly recommended as Governor DeWine recommends, or we want to require them as face coverings, and that would be third grade. The discussion of the wording required, then most likely we'll have to provide by the students. If we go with one of the governor's saying is highly recommended, we may not have to require those to each student. That's something that we have to do. We have it noted in our draft that we didn't get to. Number two, I already got the answer. The only time I don't answer, if there's not a nurse in the building, they has to quarantine and we have a sub, that we go, didn't have a sub, and have something there. If there is a positive clear, this I said earlier, this required or recommended that we close for two, that we close for that is my decision, that is a decision that ultimately by writing. As far as our witness some systems are very required to get tested, what we did find out today was that, there's no pop-up clinic in our county right now, but Ohio Hills is willing to, look into it and get some testing set up, so that we would have an area and a spot here in the district to do that. As of right now, we don't have. We have a head nurse, at least the nurse that thinks may have it, and they, go through the checklist and then recommend on testing. We may recommend, no, yeah, we're right there, is it?
So the health department doesn't test.
Not and when we asked, when I was two ladies who went to talk specifically with them, there wasn't a that. However, the commissioner is willing to come to our meeting. We do have a meeting next week, and hopefully, if you know, just express how important that is, and maybe we can work with the library, maybe get something set up.
One of the nurses can't come to school. Even if they can come to school, and you have someone that can talk to that's sort of a bad student, how are they going to go around them each classroom and administer the medication?
Yeah, I think that's coming up a little bit later, but I can tell you now that we talked about it already. One of the things that is in some of the documentation that I sent you is that the nurses can't work just in their clinic this year. The principals have already worked with our nurses and got back to the committee that there will be a well clinic spot and a sick clinic spot at each of the schools, and the principals have been wonderful. I know it's summer, but we've been keeping busy and working, but all of the schools do have an area set up where those students will be. As far as staffing and what we would need to do, right now, our biggest thing is that we need a nurse at every school. I'm not sure if you all know, but I'm going to go ahead and go over that now. Woodsfield and the nurse control pool this year, one nurse in the office here with us. She has 644 students roughly she has to take care of, because she runs between Woodsfield Elementary that has around 431 kids, down to the nursery that has around 213. One of the things that we are asking for is that we hire an additional RN, so that there is one RN in each of those buildings. The other place that this happens at is River. River Elementary, she has 397 students, and at the high school, she has 222. So she's over 600. She's about 619 students she's in charge of. Those it's two schools, even though it's one school, one campus. Each Shelby and Garden has 320 students. And all of these students, all of these nurses have students that have everyday care. If you'll notice on there, some of the things are in the plan. We're able to do it for under yellow and the level 1, and there's other things like the nebulizer that have more to do with breathing. We have some students with that is every day. They're coming down maybe to get a breathing treatment, or they have breathing medicine for it. I don't know what, but they are doing that. Under ones that would not be recommended for those students, even though we may, the majority of the students may be in school, those students would not, because they couldn't get that care. Skyview, who's Brittany, she has 229 students. Manhattan has 173, and Swiss Hills has 142 with Lisa Watts, and Jamie, of course, Manhattan. So that's something, once we get this initial plan together, and we make sure that we have at least 2 extra RNs that can cover the River campus and the Woodsville campus, then we would need to look at if we need additional staff. One of the things we have talked about is if we did offer these ladies additional staff, which my office is at Woodsville Elementary, I will tell you at any given time, over the hill where she has to do conditions, checking, doing those ones, and take them, it's nothing for Mr. Lord, one of the secretaries, or Mrs. West, or Mr. Issue, or even myself. I have gone in and grabbed the thermometer and done quick scans so that they didn't have to wait to get out of class more. That can't happen now. We're going to have to treat every student, with universal precautions that they can have. Obviously, that's we may have it. So the next part is looking at if we needed an additional staff member for them, and it's going to be the time where there's kids coming in for both sides. Again, going back to the 6 side and the the well side, we can go, we've got Mr. Switerland, and his, filing for that. That we would have equipment and not supplies that we wouldn't probably contaminate one side or the other. So all of those little details are in those 22 pages, and the committee is still working on. And if they come up later, you guys all have my email address. You're welcome. Our committee is actually working again tomorrow. We're not twice a week before, and we will be meeting again tomorrow. So we can meet some questions or the answers to the questions that one of us is saying today. We're trying to come back from trying to make them get some more information from them. Or if you have any input on the plan that I will be working on tomorrow. Some of us will be trying to get this out. We have our meeting Tuesday, and we'll do that again. Every day, maybe one of them still on contract days, and they're giving up a lot of their time. I didn't even get to touch on social and emotional learning, but the trust policy and the Shanford, we've been sending stuff to myself and SoHash. That could have been a whole other committee, but we'll have that too. We have a lot of things that are in place in the district already, and a lot more that helps support our staff and make sure that not just our kids have that, those needs, have that our staff. I'm not gonna take up any more time for the report on social learning, but maybe the next knowledge about that.
Fun. Thank you, Lydia, and the committee. Thanks, guys.
I've got a question.
Thank you.
Follow up to that. Don't we get reimbursed for Medicare for this person medication kids? I know we did in the past. We did that? We did?
We have Medicaid reimbursements.
Yeah. That's true.
They have to have an IEP, and they have to spend at least 7 minutes with them. A lot of it will work because they're not in our office.
And Mrs. Brogard, Belmont County Health Department representative or representatives are to be at Powhatan tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So hopefully we'll have more information from them because I plan to be there as well.
Janet is going to go, I didn't know anything about it. Janet's going to be there. She has questions that we had for the health department. She's getting more.
Okay.
I think the major thing about Belmont County is that as you all know, Belmont County level, they have very few use in the different policies, and like we're working together to make sure that those students, because it's not just we're going to Powhatan. You have to look at the county of residents. So we may have kids, we have kids from Noble, Washington, Monroe, and Belmont. That I know of, there's probably maybe more that are open and mobile. But we really have to look at the counties around us. So we get that state map, we have to look and see if another county is on the red or purple, you can't let them.
Because there's probably Belmont County students in that go to Woodsville, Monroe Central, Bellsville, Powhatan, and River.
Here we're gonna have kids from probably every county that have an attendance will be coming to this building.
Thank you. So that.
I didn't send my papers ahead of time. I'm gonna come close to you for a minute, because my hands are clean. And my ears are small. They are.
You can twist it. You can twist it like this.
A lot of the meetings on what the health decisions are and the transportation. So how many students do we have in the classroom? Once we do get them to school, now we're talking about 9, maybe at best in our average size rooms, and we're 6 feet apart. We talked a little bit about transportation for those students too. So who are we bringing in? Are we alternating by days, by grade level? Are we alternating by attendance area or for bus route? So a lot of the challenges there, but until we know what we're going to be required as far as face masks and temperature scan and transportation, that's a lot of pieces that are hinged on that decision. If you look at the handout I just gave you, we have 3 plans listed. So plan A is like we know how to do everybody in school. The likelihood of that happening is very slim based on all the other restrictions. Plan B would be rotation. And if you look down through there, there's options for B. So we've got B1, B2, 3, and 4. As I talked to different groups of teachers, and I met by building, and one at a time, because there was such a great response from our teachers. There were 60 people that wanted to be involved in what this is going to look like as far as the teachers. So as I talked through that, a couple of things that were kind of the consensus is they would like to see students alternate by bus route so that families can stay together, feeling that that was going to help families with daycare. If there was an older child that would be home at the same time a younger child was, then they're going to be able to supervise that child. Even a couple of teachers said that they would feel comfortable with their younger child being home with their older child, but if they were on different days, then that poses a problem for daycare for them as well. So there's a lot of challenges with Plan B and a lot of different options. Do we bring kids in and provide them instruction by spreading them out and using our larger spaces like cafeterias and gymnasiums and so on? So all of those things will be based on who we're bringing in and when. And then Plan C would be completely out, remote learning. And when we talked about those conversations in the different buildings, we all pretty much agree what we did in the spring is what we did because we had to, and we had to do it very quickly. And we can't beat ourselves up and say this didn't work or that was a bad thing or we shouldn't have done it that way. We did what we had to do at the time. But now that we can sit back and reflect on what worked and what didn't work, what are some of the practices moving forward? So as far as instruction, there are a few things that seem to be a common theme, and one is the accountability for students. Set that up in advance. When does work get turned in? What is the method of turning in work? How are we going to track whether the student is doing that work if they're completely remote? Also, that accountability for when lessons get loaded and when they get turned in, so the student will have assignments a week at a time. I even heard a couple of the teachers even say teachers need to be accountable for getting that in consistent timing, so the students and parents know that work is uploaded on this day and it's due on this day. So a lot of the teachers expressed that we can do whatever we need to do, but the sooner we know what we are doing, the sooner we can start planning. And that was common theme all over, which kudos to our teachers because they're really being flexible and that adaptability. So as we look through what it may or may not look like, given that we may shift at any time. We may be in school with alternate groups and A group and a B group, and overnight we might find that our levels are great and we have to go to all or someone tests positive, we have to go all remote. How do we start preparing teachers for that? How do we prepare them to know how to use Google Classroom, know how to upload their documents, how to provide feedback? We've had a lot of teachers on their own working with each other, providing support. We've offered a few of our own Google Classroom training, and maybe we made those recordings available. But teachers are still going to need more because there are some that haven't reached out for the training. They're going to walk in on day one and need a lot of support. So one of the other recommendations teachers come in on time and give the teachers a little bit more time than just a day to prepare. Another thing that needs to be taken. Also, teachers are going to need to be trained on what are the signs and symptoms to look for in the classroom and what do I do. You can imagine on any given day in a small young classroom, one kid gets a headache and then somebody else has a headache and somebody else has a headache and they're all going to the nurse. But with under this pandemic, where is that protocol? Who do you send? What do you do for the rest of the students? If that student comes out and they have a fever or they have other symptoms that are COVID related. So they're going to need some training. Also looking for the social emotional signs of distress. And where are those traumas that students haven't been able to interact with each other and now all of a sudden they're back in together, but they're also not allowed to put together. And I had one teacher say she's working over the summer with instrumental students and the band students were excellent and was very well behaved, spread out more than 6 feet apart. Did exactly what they're supposed to do. And as soon as they transitioned from the Andrew, go outside, it was, I want to talk to my friends. I want to give them a hug. I want to, it was just that natural response. So those are also going to be challenges. So how do we support our teachers' social and emotional well-being as well? And this one is very stressful. We are working on getting a preliminary survey out to families. Asking them questions like, if we come back and we are part remote and part in person, will you be sending your child? Will you be keeping your child home? Will you start with your child 100% at home, regardless of what we do? Are you comfortable with your child during that? Are you planning on bringing your child who normally rides the bus? And so that's going to determine what those bus routes are going to look like. So I won't read everything on here, but it gives you some ideas at the end and some of the questions that are being asked across the district. So any questions for me at the moment?
I've seen one, I think other districts are using it, where possible the teachers are rotating the classrooms to the students out and all that.
Right. Yes, and I think even the health committee
had recommended that as well, is if at all possible, can teachers rotate so that students are staying in one place? There are some circumstances, like you can't address some of the labs out here and bring a different teacher in for a different subject, things like that. But, in the elementary grades, middle school even, if you can eliminate the amount of exposure that they have. We also need to consider that we have some staff with health issues that are putting themselves at risk too, and that exposure. So, we need to figure out what our plan is for that. So, yeah, any other questions?
Then I brought up the staff's health risks.
Mhm.
Do we have any idea how many staff we have that have?
That have health risks? We're working on putting a survey out to them as well very soon. So we can gather, do you feel comfortable coming back? It may not even be their health risk, it may be a family member,
Right.
a spouse, a child that they don't want to have that exposure to take it back home.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Bohedge. Mrs. O'Connor, anything from the cafeteria committee?
Yes, the cafeteria committee met and decided that the students could go back to the classrooms and eat where they start out because they're already 6 feet apart. They would be dismissed from their classes between 5 to 10 minutes apart and go through the cafeteria line. X's on the floor. There'd be monitors to help them go through there. they would be using plasticware or things that they don't share. And in between class sessions, they would sanitize or clean anything that is shared. And if they go back to remote learning, then they would go back to sack lunches with pickup locations as they're doing now. And for breakfast, they would have prepackaged food where they could hand out when they come into the school.
All right, thank you. Mr. Romick, you have anything from extracurricular?
A little bit of the extracurricular, Mr. Caldwell. We're going to have another web Zoom meeting next Tuesday. Some of the different things, spectators, transportation, obviously workers. The OHSAA has come out and said that they'll have guidelines starting next week. They just sent an email out. One of the things that we're running into now is also the states around us. West Virginia just moved back September 8th. So while I was sitting back there, 3 different AVs, they're looking for games. Everybody's scrambling for games now because they're not going to be playing. So the different protocols and everything, we're going to look at those Tuesday morning and start setting up some because we believe that the guidelines that are going to be present, we're going to have to come up with them, much like the Beauregard said in the local health department. It's going to have to agree to them. So we'll set them up. The OHSAA has told us that they are planning on starting August 1st sports. So it's clear cut. They said they're starting. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How can, if we have to keep everyone 6 feet apart, how can we have,
Athletic sports and everything else. I think they're going to start the year and you're going to see golf play. I think you're going to see cross country run. Now, our cross country coach, this morning I delivered to her I had a longer one when she wanted to take temperatures. One of the things that came out in her, she had to do a rules interpretation meeting today, and she said that within that, any meet they go to, temperatures have to be taken of all the participants in it before they're allowed to run. So I expect that to be one of the things also with a lot of things coming out. So it's going to take a lot of extra hands to do some of the things. The OHSAA has, again, they still mentioned about the spectators, limiting spectators. How you go monitor all those things is going to be tough. The football is the Ivy League, if you're recalling, the Ivy League has moved football in the spring season. But I think there's going to be a domino effect from that. I agree with you, Mr. Anderson. I think they'll start and see what happens in August. Because a lot of those sports will be played before school ever starts. Golf, cross country will be doing some running. Volleyball will have a few events. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Romick. Mr. Kozlik, anything? Mr. Kozlik, do you have anything under superintendent's report?
Hey, Mr. Caldwell, no, I don't have anything new, but I do want to reiterate what Lydia was saying there about the health committee and the phenomenal job that the nurses did in the short period of time that they had. They really worked at it, and I think they came up with a good plan. I just wanted to make the board aware that just want to commend the nurses, for their work. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kozlik. All right, Mr. President, I will conclude.
All right, that brings us to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any questions or issues with anything?
Yeah, I got a question on number 5. That's a great answer.
5. The Congent Consulting. Is that a grant?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Voting is open.
Mine just,
It's
yeah, mine was
a
delayed.
little bit slow. Jerry, is yours coming up? Mr. Winkler? Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes, yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries, and that brings us to old business. And it's the school reopening update, and that's just, I figured you would want to put time to it, so I thought it could go there in case.
Okay.
So, unless you have anything else to add. You want to know?
Does Chris have something for transportation?
Mr. Caldwell, any update? Ms. Sanders was asking if there was any information on transportation.
He was here. I just didn't want to.
Not really. You're at the meeting. We're waiting for the guidelines to come out and Jason reviewed them. We were kind of going off the GPO guidelines as well, but as you saw this morning on the news, there's going to change again. CDC guidelines. We just basically need to make a decision on how many students are bringing bags. That determines the capacity of the buses, the capacity of the building. Patient coverage is required. Temperature checks, getting on the bus, and things like that. We just need to, we're going to start meeting very seriously, get more specific guidelines, make some decisions that may come back to you all and involve you all. But I don't know if we're going to have something soon. I hope we are, because we're going to open up in the fall. We've got to start making some plans very soon. That's, let's move into detail. That's where we're at.
You were here.
Thanks. I'm used to that though.
Transportation is going to be one of the things that gives us the most barriers.
Yeah, and like Jason mentioned, we're not sure we can order any buses. We get the okay, stay on control. If we're going to do any plexiglass barriers, anything like that, we just need that okay from them. Maybe some more approval, but just a lot to be. I'm sure you're all thinking things. A lot to be ironed out. I think you have a lot of. I haven't thought of. I don't. But we're going to start one more time. You know that. We appreciate you guys listening and just be there for us, support us, whatever we think's best. If you don't like it, let us know.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
I guess I have a concern. We're going to have a lot of big decisions to make. And there's no way for 2 committee members to come back and try to brief us to make our decisions. So would it be possible for it to be a board meeting so more of us can be there? Like the meeting next week?
Make that like the work session.
that everybody can be up to speed at the same time.
The only reason, yeah, I mean, we can do that, or we can call one immediately after. I mean, the only reason, we were talking this morning, if we get in a situation where we have to make, you know, a plan or adjust our plan immediately, this committee could probably get together that evening without having to wait 2 days notice. We could get together, I mean, we could notice the meeting then, still have that meeting that evening, and start planning for when we do get together.
But like next week, when you're having that meeting, could we have it as a work session so we can, as many of us be there as want to be there to hear from all the committees? Because we're gonna have a lot of major decisions to make.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
I'm available either day.
I'm not sure. You're thinking Tuesday, Wednesday?
Tuesday, we say Tuesday, maybe you can make it, yeah, 4 o'clock. Mr. Winkler? Mr. Gus? Jackson's good. You want me to wait? No, go ahead. Yes.
When those, that, you know, having, I will take the notes and note how everyone can't be just like, you know, similar to what I'm thinking from our whole committee about. I mean, that way we're not worrying about someone from someone else. We'll actually have, I write down, like, everything we discussed, and then what needs to be addressed at the end of the action. I think that we just make sure we have no taking at all of those, and if one of the other committees can't be there, one of the board members will be off on the same page.
We could also go ahead and set, like if you think a meeting every week for the month of July, because there's going to be new stuff all the time that you're going to need to request to get approval. And I mean, that's a possibility.
We can make that decision at that meeting when we conclude our meeting on Tuesday.
Okay. What time are you thinking?
Reconvene the following week. Pardon?
What time are you thinking on Tuesday?
4? If that's good with everyone. Once it needs to be, I mean, we can move it back if it's got to be later. I'm just trying to think of some of the other ones. The health department representatives, admin team, committee leads.
You want to get with those people first? I can go a little earlier. It works for like the health department. Whoever comes from there, they're going to be on.
Lydia, do you think they would have an issue at 4 o'clock?
I don't think so. I think if we make sure she doesn't already have something scheduled, I think she would get kind of done, but she was willing to come whenever we had.
Okay. Well, we'll shoot for Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
And then maybe tomorrow with Belmont County, you could ask that individual.
Yeah.
Okay, we good with that? Okay. This brings us to new business. Number 1 is the approval and final reading of volume 38, number 2. Any questions over those policies? Or comments?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, voting is open. Jerry, how do you want to vote? Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Gust? Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. That motion carries. Number two is our first reading of these policies. So far, is there any issues or questions or clarifications needed? And the catch-up agreement is, we had Bill McLaughlin from Neola last July go through our policies and see which ones were out of date and needed updating. Second part of that is administrative guideline. They are working on that, but it's not on here, right? Okay. So that'll be coming.
There's still more policies to come after these.
Deb, do you have anything on the policies? Okay, first reading is done. We're on number 3, approval of first and final reading in policy 2623, student assessment.
Yeah, that's the annual one that gets approved each year. Student assessment and student service.
Is there any questions or comments on that one? This one's a first and final, so we can't change it unless we get back through the process.
There wasn't any changes. It's just required to be reviewed annually. Right?
Yes.
And it's supposed to be assessment, not.
Thank you.
Voting is open. Mr. Gust? Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Gust? Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. That motion's carried. So number 4, discussion and approval of evaluation resolution. I didn't know how to word this, but in April, when we passed the resolution suspending, I believe is the word, that we suspended all evaluations, and I'd like us to reconsider that and go ahead and evaluate our admin at least. I can have language if we do a Tuesday meeting. I should be able to have language by then. So this is basically rescinding the resolution that was proposed and adopted in April, suspending all the evaluations, teachers, admin, superintendent, everyone. Any discussion? I don't want to make the motion until,
As long as you don't, in the front. You can make the motion to rescind it. As long as you vote yes.
oh, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was lost.
And the
Yeah.
one you're looking at issuing isn't going to have anything to do with the teachers because the school year's over, correct?
Correct. So even like the new resolution won't speak to the teachers. Do you still rescind that resolution? Or would I say rescind and amend?
Rescind that motion to number 1. Correct.
So it could just say we're suspending the teachers' evaluation, the new one.
Motion.
One you're going to put on, we don't have the resolution tonight for the next meeting, would be for to suspend the teachers' evaluation.
Well, what I'm saying, you've got to rescind this motion first.
Right.
You have to vote yes, but to rescind the motion. I'll make a motion we rescind
The,
We're going to have to add principals into that as well.
Mhm.
Those were not completed, also.
You're halfway done with those, right?
Yeah, first round.
Gary.
Oh.
And I was gonna pull up the actual. Bonnie, it's item F4 on the April 9th agenda. F4.
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Merit motion carries, and that brings us to 5, discussion and approval of a third district athletic trainer position.
That would be a third addition to the ones that were approved prior. 2 were approved earlier, but now we did find a third candidate. And I know Mr. Shoemaker mentioned that, asked if we had a third candidate. At that time, we didn't. And then afterwards, we did find out that we had a third possible person. We interviewed and felt that he would be a good addition to the other 2. And our recommendation is now to go ahead and move forward with the third one so that we can cover all campuses.
Yeah, which is a great thing. My only concern is if we're thwarted with sports, what are we going to do with these candidates if we hire them? Have you talked
Yeah, I
with
mean,
them?
if it continues even like it is right now, where they're, I mean, they may not have games and say they're practicing, or, with the skills training and stuff like that. I mean, they could still be needed. If we're in the buildings. Yeah, for the buildings, yeah. They'll teach in the afternoons also. They'll be teaching career tech classes.
They certified in any way to help out with the issue. In some way, could they, just their knowledge of that, it would be at least beneficial. At least take a temperature, can they? I just wondered if there is an issue with it, which is suspended however long. They hire these people, I can't think they couldn't be beneficial in some way.
It's helping with temperature checks, stuff like that.
Reporting. I'm sure there's something to do.
Right.
So they would be teaching in the afternoon. At each campus.
Yeah, I'm sure there's things that they would be able to do to help out. I mean, even though they don't have
Something to look into if there's some type of training, through the course of it, get it beneficial. I don't know what your level of education is. It's just athletic training. Something beyond that be beneficial for the whole district.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Motion carries and brings us to number 6, discussion and approval of 2 new district nurse positions. Will these be RNs or LPNs?
These will be RNs. Yes.
I feel we already discussed it. I mean, there was, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ready, Ms. Edwards? Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Guy?
Yes.
Mr. Schumaker?
Yes.
Motion carries, and we are on number 7, approval of ELA curriculum purchase.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ready, Ms. Edwards?
We should have just took them all but finance.
Hmm?
We should have just took them all but finance.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion carries, which brings us to number 8, approval of high school world language curriculum purchase. It's a mouthful.
Second.
Ready, Ms. Edwards? Mr. Guy?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Schumaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries, which brings us to number 9, approval of graduate. I make a motion we accept it.
I got a question on that. So,
Yes.
that current approach to me, my question is, if she has to go to the state, to get this approved, why couldn't we do it on?
Well-
Did she come to you?
She called me, yes.
Yeah, why couldn't we get it taken care of?
Well, we did get it taken care of after the fact. Mrs. Bohat, she called the State Department and got clearance. Our understanding
My
was,
understanding is she had to go to the state department and get it okay.
no, Mrs. Bohat called the State Department. Did you not?
I think so. She told me she called.
I think she.
Rolling. This is that. She had to call the state department to get it done.
I never heard that she called the State Department. Pardon? Yes.
Rob.
Yes, sir. And then that's when I contacted, and I called Mr. Trofanoff, and I called Mrs. Bohatch. And is that when we got in contact with them, the state?
But we can give you a little background without getting too specific, since we're talking about an individual student. Student was as listed as a junior last year, and 2001 graduate. Therefore, she did not meet the requirements for graduate class of 2020. When COVID hit, it put a spin on everything. And the way the new requirements came out for seniors, it said the class of 2020, if they were on track already to graduate, then they would be exempt from the testing requirements. Well, our interpretation was that student was not on track to graduate because there were certain testing requirements that had not taken, and they were also classified as a class of 2021, not 2020. And that had been articulated all through the year and talking about acceleration and so on. So we knew that. When I called the State Department for clarification, they said that was one of those loopholes that actually it could be interpreted 2 different ways. And he said that it could be interpreted as a local decision to allow the student to graduate without testing requirements. So that's when we made the decision, made the recommendation that she be approved so she can have her transcript and move on.
Good, thank
I second the motion.
Voting is open.
Mr. Gust? Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yeah.
Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
And congratulations to our most recent graduate. Motion carries. Let's go to number 10, discussion and approval of the 2021 student handbook. Any questions or discussion?
No, not for me.
Make a motion.
I second.
Voting is open. Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker? Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries, which brings us to number 11, approval of disposal of old high school social studies material. Any questions or dialogue?
I move to approve.
Old textbooks, we can get rid of, need to get rid of.
Second.
Okay, the voting is open. Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries, and we are at the approval of June financials.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Voting is open.
I'm second. Yeah, because you second it, does not mean you can't vote no, even if I want to. Ronnie?
Mr. Gust?
Abstain. Did you hear me? I can vote no if I want, even though it's second. Now, if I make the motion, I have to vote yes. I got some under new business, so don't close.
Mr. Winkler?
Abstain.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Abstain.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Abstain.
And motion carries, which brings us to public
No.
participation.
Under new business, I want to discuss something.
Then we need to dispense with the rules and add
Oh, I
in.
thought you said we could bring it up under new business. Okay, well, I want to
Make
make,
a motion.
I second.
Do you want to just verbally, Connie, and update it? Does that help you any?
I can, if you want me to do that, I will.
Whichever. I just thought
Okay.
that would be.
Yeah.
Discuss and you could update if you want.
Okay, who made the first?
Ron.
Okay. Jerry, was you the second?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries. The rules are dispensed.
Okay, I'd like to discuss and, yeah, I want to discuss and make a motion. But I think there needs to be a motion.
And if you want to discuss the words, there's a motion for. So,
Thank you. Do we need to add an agenda item?
That was the next step. Ron, don't we need to add the agenda item? Okay. So now we need to add the item of business.
Motion to add the item, right? Motion to add new business item is what I'll put. Okay, I need a first.
Second.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Gus,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. That motion carries. Now we can discuss your item.
Right. What I'm asking is, well, you can read it. I'm asking for money for each teacher in district, $500. And the way I want to put the motion in effect is, like, that's the way I want to make the motion. The last $1,000 one that we gave out, it was less than 50% that's out for it. It's like 80, less than 50%. I think so far, we did that in December, and I think so far 2 people have collected money on it. 7 months in, the $1,000 that we wanted
Yeah,
to
if
do.
I'm not mistaken, I think we had like 88 teachers.
Yeah, less than 50%.
Yeah, but out of the 88, they have their requisitions and everything in. The only reason why some of them haven't ordered yet, because we didn't want stuff delivered to the building. And actually, I think we just set a date. I was talking to Mr. Rosvari the other day. We're going to set a date on July 20th, allow them to order, so that then hopefully sometime in August, it'll get there, when there's people in the buildings.
So my motion is concerned for the new school year.
Okay.
So this is for classroom material.
Yeah.
So are there teachers requesting things and they're not getting?
Yeah, I know. With this pandemic, they're going to need a lot more supplies in there, and they don't want to run that principle every time. It's just something I felt that we should be doing every year, is giving these teachers a $500 stipend, more or less, you could say, for their classrooms. As long as they're spending on the classroom and the principal okays it, I want to give it to them. I think we can afford it.
So if you reimburse a teacher, if you give a teacher a check, it will have to come back on their payroll and be taxed on that, because that's a gift.
We're not giving the teacher, it's for their classroom material.
I understand that, but if you reimburse each teacher, if you give $500 check to a teacher, then that's a gift from the district, will be taxed.
Let me read my paper, and then you explain to me, because I have no idea.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do is make a motion that the Switerland High School District Board of Education allocate $500 to each Switerland High local school district educator. These monies would be transferred from the general fund to each of the principal's Rotary 018 accounts. Connie, you listening? Oh, go ahead and get the copy.
No, I don't have a copy.
Okay, we'll read about one of the things that I wanted into the principal's Rotary 018 fund.
Okay.
Each teacher and respective principal will work in conjunction to determine how the money will be spent. Furthermore, the intention of the Board of Education is to provide these teachers with these monies to purchase needed classrooms. The board will not require teachers to complete any paperwork ordering in order to be able to spend the money, as long as the teachers work with their respective building principals. It is understood that this is not a grant. In order to keep this from being an endless process at the building level, all money must be encumbered for purchase by May 1st, 2021. So, now what was you talking about there?
This can be done.
Because it's going into the principal's account.
Right.
Yeah,
At the next
if it's
board
going into
meeting.
the 018 account.
Right. At the next board meeting, you guys will have to do a general fund transfer. Approve it, I should say.
Okay, well, I want to put a motion on the floor, which I just did, and.
That's fine, a
get second
motion.
on it.
But I have to put it under my treasurer's account.
Yeah, that's
not
fine.
just an item. So
Yeah.
it has to come back next board meeting, and then I put in for transfer, and you guys approve it, and then it can go in the 018.
Okay, so motion's been put on the floor.
Now that principal then is going to have to make sure,
Discuss, Greg.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, I've been there. And my question is, what aren't they getting? I mean, isn't there already a system in place if they need something outside I know a lot of teachers do a lot of personal things with kids, and I get that. And a lot of that is on their own accord. I really don't think that they should be reimbursed for something they do on a personal level. That being said, if they're putting it towards an educational situation that's benefiting all the students, they can do that and have a tax write-off. It is every year I taught, there's a minimum, I think you can claim $250 on your tax return every year regardless. You're not showing anything beyond that, which I think would be a benefit of each teacher if they are spending their own money. And if you smart enough to put it towards their taxes and like charities and get that reimbursement. I agree with benefiting every teacher. I don't understand where 500 per teacher. How many most teachers in one building?
Well, we got probably 218, 20 in the whole
217,
district.
218.
Yes.
That seems like a lot of money for classroom supplies. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
wrong. It
Well-
seems like a lot of money. I think if we set something up at a certain amount, maybe, I don't know what the number. I just think that to me seems like an awful lot of money for classroom supplies. We're already getting we should be getting what
They don't get what you think they get, Greg.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking. That's why I'm asking.
Have you
That's what
ever
I'm
denied
saying,
anybody?
a lot of times, Mr. Caldwell, correct me if I'm wrong, do they not turn in things in the office in the spring, like spring orders or whatever? And they do bulk orders?
Bulk orders.
Yeah, we'll do a bulk order. I've done this range of order stuff throughout the year. I guess kind of answer the question, we weren't really giving any budgets at the building level until last year, for about 3 years. We have a discretionary account, we have the 018, which is funded by fundraisers, whatever we put in there. But the discretionary is each building is spending how they want. However, on top of that, there's education supplies, there's tons of different accounts that you can take things out of. So I guess me speaking, I noticed me, the first thing I noticed, we hardly ever say no or say no if the teacher needs something. Sometimes you gotta redirect, and well, maybe that might not be good, but let's try to go this route. So to answer your question, a lot of times we don't say no. Do they always get what they want? No. Do they get what they need? For the most part, they get what they need. And I have to guess back to administration, like they've been approving a lot of purchases that haven't been done in the past. But granted, we have more money than we had in the past too. I've been a principal, 9, 10 years now. I'm dating myself. I thought I was young, but I may not get old. But we're getting more than ever than we've got in the past. But I'm also still hearing the teachers need military. I am hearing that, and they probably do. So if you're asking me to get behind either way, I hate to turn down money because that money is going to be money that we will use. I understand what you're saying too. We just got to be fiscally responsible as principals, as administration, whatever we do. So that's just my 2 cents on it, but.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
I
right.
think that's responsibility back to the principal too, to track that money. And I also know at the administration level, there has never been one requisition that came through there for supplies that has been approved by the principal that Rob and I have not approved. Have you had any, Chris, since we've been,
That they've not
that
approved.
we've never,
No, I honestly, I do not. In the past couple of years, I don't think anything has been denied. Now, we may have had conversations about it and maybe went a different route, but it was denied up front. No, I can't say that.
There recently, but in the past, when there was no money,
Yeah.
it was not quite right.
We're in our older. I agree.
Yeah, that money might be going smart, Greg. They might need it.
Well,
I know one of my past employees or employers, when I worked and taught, every year we were given something like that at the end of the year. It was like, I think, $250, $300 to order classroom supplies, stuff like that. It didn't come out of the principal's. Let me backtrack. We weren't given that money. We were to fill out a requisition for up to that amount, whether it was $250 or $300, whatever it might have been. I can't recall. Well, we filled out a requisition at the end of the year, turned that into the office, and then it would be ordered about midsummer or whatever, so that it would arrive mid to late August. So when we started back to school, there it was in the building, in our classrooms, sitting in boxes. We had to inventory it, sign off everything, check mark, yes, it's in, and sign it, date it, turn it in. Oh, yeah, right.
The 018 account is just a discretionary fund through the principal.
Put it in the 018, then the principal is going to have to track each teacher, how much they spent, and stuff like that. I mean, if you throw it in one lump sum in an 018, principal's going to have to track, okay, Mr. So-and-so.
Well, it feels like you're adding a system to a system that's already, nothing's broke. Like I'm not hearing the problem of why we need to give. It got done.
99% of the teachers I guarantee will take advantage of it. Where before, nobody's taking advantage of 50%, or less than 50%. This great grant thing that everybody had to have has been a big farce. Don't work. So if I put a motion on the floor, we're done discussing. I don't think it's a motion.
How much extra paperwork?
Well, it's gonna be at the building level. Each principal will have to, once it gets transferred, and then that money will be within their 18. And they don't know what budget, but when you're talking about 50 to 200 teachers per building, I mean, that's a lot of work.
Can the teachers also get reimbursed, Rob, if they find things over the summer? How does that work? If they would want to be?
They can be reimbursed as long as they keep all their proper documentation. And if related with the classroom, they can be reimbursed, not to do the paperwork for it, recognition that will.
Prior to them purchasing.
Right.
Yeah.
But they could.
Yes, Mr. Cole.
We reimburse teachers a lot, whether you send on with that, we do a requisition, and that check, that's part of their income, they got their taxes.
No, that's reimbursement. They want to fund the classroom. If you just out now, if I issue a check to you, just for just
$500.
Here's $500 to buy something. Then that can be considered with the IRS, a gift from the district. We would have to, in a year, that's like us giving you, you would have to tax it. If I would give you a gift card, it would have to be taxed.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. They already do. They. Right, but we can't continue to act like we don't have any money. And I hope that whole, I'm not going to say it.
I'll say.
So is there any difference between what the process is now and what it will be? They would still go to their principal, but then now the principal's going to have to keep track of each teacher.
Right.
Is there a way we could do it to give buildings more? Do we give them money now, right? So could we give them more so they don't have as much tracking to do? If they need more?
They don't have an allocated amount, do they?
The easiest thing to kind of do a mixture of both would be to have the teacher fill out the requisitions or requisition or whatever they're wanting and try to have it to that amount and don't keep nickel and diming it throughout the year. So if you were going to do it, they should do a requisition of, okay, here's my requisition for my, if you're going to say for $500, for I got $498 of supplies right here. Principal will have to look through it, agree, sign off, send it in. Okay. At the end of the year, I think it'd be a good thing. We got to. And they do that with their ball orders now, a lot of them, some of them.
That's just what we think we need, and then if we did not get enough, we can still order stuff about following year.
Now, if they do a requisition for $500, they'll have, for one requisition, they would have to use the same vendor. So if these teachers go out and order 10 different, or from 10 different vendors, that's 10 requisitions for $500.
So then we go to the principal.
It would have to go to them, they would approve it, it would come to us.
And it's still not an automatic approval. The principals,
The 018?
Yes.
No, the 018 is like fundraisers. They might put money in, pop machine sales.
why would we make them use their money on, why would we have them use?
The account he's wanting it to go into.
That's the answer to what he's wanting it to go into.
Is there an account that district general fund puts money into for each individual building?
Discretion.
The discretion fund, which is in general fund.
Or a particular amount for
Yes, they receive their amounts and the amount of last place.
based on their per pupil. Okay, that was my question. So if it's an issue of not getting what they need, then we should get it to a point where per building, they have enough money that the teachers aren't down. I don't think they're not getting that. There's an issue with teachers not getting the supplies that they need, not one. There's a big difference there. That amount should be increased. I think that's what you're saying. If there's a discretion. Yeah, I get that. It's also in the contract too. That would be raising their contract. Would be a good thing. You're saying on your job, you do trial. I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with that.
What does, we do care about our teachers. We care about our principals too. And I don't want to kill them with all the paperwork, but I'm not sure what you're wanting to accomplish. Can you tell me again what this accomplishes that's not happening, that this is going to make happen?
Mr. Caldwell, you think this would be better to do it at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year?
Just me personally thinking, I would say at the beginning of the year, since we do keep all orders in spring already, and then that could help maybe offset, maybe what you wanted in the spring to fall. They could possibly use that money to get what they want.
Right.
And this would still be the same thing, Jerry. They may not get what they want. The principal still has to say, this is a necessity, yeah, we agree, this is a good thing. We don't disagree with wanting our teachers to stop spending their own money. We're just not sure I'm just not sure this is the way to do it. We have this process already in place. You're doubling it.
We could add to the other discretionary fund, correct?
We could, I mean, if we were going to follow through with this, I would recommend adding it to the discretionary fund rather than the 018.
No, one way she said,
I know, right.
I speak.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem I see with discretionary is right now, we have to spend that prior to that fiscal year end, correct? Now, would that be the same case?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, it says requisition by May 1st, 2021.
See, the 018 carries over year to year. If that teacher's not used that 500 times, that's what the board decides. They do not use it, you carry over to the next year, that teacher.
Well, if they don't, if the transfer is done, and that's another issue, you're gonna have teachers that if they do not use that money, there is no way to get that money back in a general fund because you can't do a transfer from 018 to general fund. General fund is the only account you can do the transfer. So if the teachers do not utilize that money will be sitting in the 018. I'm not saying it can't get used for other things, but that is gonna be up to the teacher to figure out if they want to use it or if they want to use it on top of what we've already given.
It says we're gonna give it the first, have to be done by May 1st.
They'll have a whole year to use it. So if they don't use it, evidently they don't need it, right?
And it'll just sit in the 018 fund and the principal use it as he wishes to use because there's no way I can get money back from 018 back to the general fund. Once the transfer is done, it's done.
And I'm saying if we just leave it in the contingency fund.
It'll stay in the 018 if it's not used.
I thought you was calling the 018 and the contingency fund two different things.
Discretionary fund is.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Discretionary is a general fund.
okay.
Money.
So we don't even know if they need 500 or if they would spend 500 and that money is,
Because once the transfer is done, it's over in the 018.
My whole point is, I don't disagree with Jerry at all. I think that teachers should have what they need. Period. Discussion. I don't necessarily agree on the amount. That's a lot of money to spend or have available. But that's just my opinion. But I agree 100% that teachers need what they need to perform
In their classrooms, right, I agree.
If it could be somehow come to an agreement of what an amount should be or what that add to the discretionary or 018 fund, then I'm 100% behind.
I got something to say. Last year, we put a motion on there to give each of them $1,000. That's what I thought our motion was. I didn't know they had to do already. Now, if you give them $1,000, they have to do it now. A lot of them want to take time out like we have. I'm going to give them $1,000. Yeah. How much is left there? $1,000. How much money is left?
When we say, I'll let it so-called. Right?
Uh-huh.
We only cost that much this time around. Understand? We allocated for 270 teachers, $270. We'll be less on this.
Would you support it going into the discretionary fund?
No.
Why?
That's what I wanted to do. I was certain they could use.
They can use it now, and they can use it in the discretionary fund, and they can use it in the general fund. How many have asked and got told no? How many teachers have requested items and have been told no? But we're gonna just arbitrarily put some money over there that, what we did last year was we put an accountability piece with $1,000.
That should have been run like that before. But this would never come up if it wasn't run messed up the last time. That's what I'm saying. It would have been run on the vision of the board, wanted it to work for us. That's why I'm bringing it up now, trying to make a right from a wrong.
What was your intention with the $1,000? Yeah, just give it to them. No strings, no accountability. It was one of you two.
Check the meeting. I don't think I supported it. It's 5-0. But my intention was we was going to go ahead and put it in the fund and let the president.
And we said with an accountability piece, there would be paperwork and
wanted that money for them.
I think our teachers need to let our principals know what their needs are. Some teachers may have more than 500 and some may have less than 500.
Kids, I need hand size too. They might not be funds. Is that right? That's all.
The teachers don't have parents bring them in.
I'm saying that money's in there. They know that they can get it without hassle. They spend their own money.
What kind of hassle are they getting? Like, I don't even want to.
No, but I mean, besides that, they can still go to the principal. Well, they're still going to have to. They're still going to have to fill out the paperwork.
I believe you, but there's still going to have to ask. Jerry, if they won't use the process that's already in place, well, how does it change things? I can't help that if he doesn't want to. Did he ask when he spent that money? Did he get told next he went ahead and bought it? I did.
Well,
I
I know
remember that.
teachers spend more than I do. Probably, yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
What are they spending the money on that they don't already have?
Just different.
I mean, I understand, like, if you're gonna buy a box of tissue, you buy one tissue.
Standing desk.
Yeah, you know, but she figured if she goes out to the principal and everybody else is, so she more or less more to give herself.
Same thing though, Jerry. If she wants a standing desk, she's going to put in for it, and everybody else is going to see. And you know what? If everybody else wants a standing desk, then and they ask, that's great. The money's in there now, Jerry. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't guarantee that they'll get it signed. It's the same process. They have to fill out the paperwork. Principal has to review it. Principal has to sign off on it or not. Right? What am I missing?
So at Skyview, do you guys have class lists that parents send in with their kids? Do they include like tissues, sanitizing wipes, things like that?
We were just having a discussion. Some do because it's a habit, or they'll just supply list because we didn't have money in the past to buy those things. Now we do. So that's the discussion here. Sorry, we were distracting you. But that's, we're trying to break teachers of that. And actually, my wife, that's the next time we have to have parents ask me these on their supply list, right? Because we can purchase these things. So they still do. Yeah.
But not all parents supply those.
Right.
Maybe that's an essential thing for
But that
classes,
should be
especially
provided.
elementary, it should be provided.
Yes.
Then I wouldn't want, I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't want every parent sending in whatever they got from their house. I don't think that should be an option. I wouldn't want it, if I was a teacher, that should be provided by the district. If it's an essential item, you know, what's essential? Sanitary wipes, tissues, I mean, how far do you go with that? Hand sanitizer, they don't need, candle warmers or, you know, potpourri, things like that. That makes no sense. You know, it's an educational situation.
Right.
You know, you don't have to have certain things on the walls to make it look pretty. If it's educational, it's one thing. I've been there, done that. I've been through the whole process. And I've seen what certain teachers have done and bought, and some teachers have really gone over and bought outstanding things, but it's also some of it's extra. They don't necessarily, they barely have time enough to make it. I'll go back, I agree with you. Teachers should have what they need, not what they want.
Right. I think we all agree.
And the principal.
And Yeah, and I'm thinking like, for wipes and tissues and paper towels, you don't have to have the 6-page thing. You just fill out what you always filled out. I hope you did. If not, don't put it on your parents because you don't need to. Get it from the district. You can,
That should be an issue.
district can handle it.
So is there any difference in the paperwork between the 018 fund and the discretionary fund besides the money, if it's not used, it stays in the general fund? It's all the same, all the same paperwork.
And it's not the thing where the board put $500 there for every teacher. Now every teacher gets to spend it. They still go through the accountability process of the principal approving it and seeing, is it over the top? Is it something you have time for? Is it something you need? Maybe someone's got something extra over here and you don't need to buy it.
Is there, you said there's a single amount in the discretionary fund, and then there's whatever they raise around 18 fund. They get to the point, I mean, obviously we have money, get to the point where teachers are needing, or Mr. Paul, at Skyview. Do you have a problem getting what you need or turning it down if you're answering the question? You use discretion to say, is that a need, is that a want, is that a want? And that's, I'm glad you think that way, because not everybody would think that way. But if it would become that problem, couldn't they come to us at some point and say, listen, this is what we're doing now, education has changed, our stuff's outdated, which I have no idea whether it is. We want to go to the top, we want this responsibility. Are we doing the same thing across the district? But what's one teacher should be good, the other teacher, no matter what better work, right? So I'm saying if there was an issue where we needed something, come to us and say, hey, we need $2 or improve it, give it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's never a problem.
I haven't seen it.
Actually, the same government already has how many students per student, and it also outlines it on how well your test scores and everything else. But it tells you for people how much a district spends. I'll try to look it up here. We do quite well in this district, how much we spend on our students. It compares it to the size of school, how many students.
That's one, special needs comes in effect there.
Because they get special needs.
Yeah, but there's no way to do it. Show.
But isn't our entire budget so much for, I mean, isn't that? If it,
Foundational.
well, I'm saying, when they're figuring out dollars per student, don't they figure like if this teacher is teaching, if you have this many teachers, doesn't it take this teacher's salaries and divide them by the students? Isn't all that money figured in there?
I just know that you know that you state that it shows how much how much people. I don't know. Mr. Gunn?
Yes.
Yes. No.
Shoemaker?
No. Does the motion fail with the, so motion fails?
I just want to say, I support the teachers having what they need. And I think they need to ask their principals for what they need. And if the principals need more in their discretionary fund, then we need to address that.
Absolutely.
I agree, whether it's discretionary or OAT, I mean, one or the other. So they're running low, being shorted, or they're not getting what they need. But I mean, I agree, teachers, I don't want to see teachers spending out of their pocket for classroom supplies. I don't want to see parents sending in, having to send in, tissues and wipes or whatever. That we need to furnish.
Especially this year.
Sorry, are you done?
Where's that?
General fund.
That come out of general?
General fund.
Always fun.
Yeah, they've done a requisition, some have done a requisition, some have done a.
So basically, we're around. That's 88, that's 88,000.
Public participation. This brings us to the executive session portion. I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Mr. Gus?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes. I'll give it. I'll leave it for you.
Ms. Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
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 All right, I think. How do you want to say that? Sarah, how would you like to say? Yes. Okay, not you. I got Jared saying that. Mr. Gus?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson? Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Let the record show we're adjourning to executive session at 9:30.
Went to unoccupied is what happened. Once we get to like 8 o'clock in the summertime, we turn them to unoccupied because there's nobody in the building.
We're ready to go live.
Back to order. Let the record show that at 9:40 we reconvened into open session, and I need a motion to adjourn.
No.
You're going too far.
No.
To strike that motion.
For seven. My six is read.
We're on number 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm. We're making a motion now to.
We're on number 5.
Can you make it?
Adjourn to executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, motion, demotion, or compensation of public employee.
Yeah,
That's what I'm like.
we're with you now.
Ronnie made the motion.
I second.
Yes.
Voting is open. Sarah?
Yes.
That little arrow.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Gus? Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes. Motion carries. Let the record show we're reconvening to executive session. Okay, we're live. All right, I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Let the record show that at 9:55, we adjourned to open session. And I need a motion to adjourn to executive session. If the person making the motion could read it, that would be.
I move we adjourn to executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Thank you.
Voting is open. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Gus?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Okay, got you. Got you.
You should be in.
You're welcome.
All right, let the record show that we're reconvening this meeting at 10:10.
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session for preparing, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of.
I'll second the motion.
Voting is open. Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Gus?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Let the record show this meeting is adjourning to executive session at 10:11.
We are live.
I think I'm there.
Yeah.
You ready, Rob?
Yes.
All right, let the record show at 10:55, we reconvene to open session, and I'll call this meeting back to order. Trying to get in here. One second while I. Okay, I'm at the door, Karen. Sorry about that. All right, next item of business is the treasurer's report.
I have two items. It's new money coming from ODE for 2 grants. That was not in the last month's report or last week's report. For July 1. So this is new money for the minutes. I just need to have it approved so I can submit the proper documentation to the county.
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Okay, ready? Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Duff?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
It brings us, motion carries. That brings us to personnel. Do we want to move on these all together or pull them out?
I'd like to move on administration. Separate. All of them separate. Okay, all of them, yeah.
Okay. Just the administrative separate or all?
All.
Okay. All right, we'll start with administrative. We have a recommendation for the district nutrition and food service supervisor. Is there any discussion? I make a motion that we hire the recommended nutrition and food service supervisor. I thought they wanted to do the each person separate.
Administrative as a group or individual?
So all three, okay. I'll amend my motion to make the motion to hire the recommended district nutrition and food service supervisor, the district nutrition and food service coordinator, and yeah, Swiss Hills director. Do I need to say their names? Okay.
Second.
Okay, ready? Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Duff?
No.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Motion carries. Brings us to certificated. You need any of these pulled out or?
There's one thing, a correction needs on certificate. Ferguson,
Yes.
he actually should have been, he wouldn't be certificated, he'd be under administrative. He's on the behavioral.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, if we make note of that, do you need to go back to a separate one for him?
Is there a reason that you keep administrative and certificated separate, Bev? Did you know? I would say as long as we understand what we're voting on.
Okay, yeah, I just want to clarify that.
And you noted it for the record.
I'll make note of it and then also.
Okay.
Say with some of the other,
Pardon?
say with some of the other department, and there's an action that call in,
That they're under the wrong heading, do you mean?
Intervention specialist, English teacher, counselor.
What I'm saying, as long as we know what's on.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Certificate?
Mm-hmm. And the the top one that's not.
I second.
Mrs. Smith? Or I'm sorry. Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Guy?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
All right, nothing under class, motion carries, nothing under classified. Right? Which brings us to substitutes.
I make a motion to approve substitutes.
Second.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Guy?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Now we're looking at supplementals. Is there any questions on the supplementals or corrections?
I make a motion to approve supplementals.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Guy?
Abstain.
Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Stay.
Motion is carried, and now I will, oh, is there any under volunteers?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. You can let Greg.
Ready to, I am. Ready to-
I would lose.
Anderson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Guy? Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.